won't fear me, won't let them be Guru Maharaji. Big Guru Maharaji.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju, the time is 3 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè o, kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Rédíò gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú, gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú lórí WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, lórí X, lórí YouTube, lórí TikTok, kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Ẹ bá mi pè o, rédíò gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú, gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú, gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú, gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfínjú, rédíò Àfínjú, rédíò Àfínjú, rédíò Àfínjú.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Civil society organization demands fair Osun cause recruitment. Uganda confirms outbreak of Ebola in capital Kampala, 1 dead. Helicopter pilots and crew chief named as victims of DC crash. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. An Osun-based civil society, the Osun Masterminds, TOM, has urged the state government under the watch of Ademola Adeleke to be transparent and shun any form of political influence in the recruitment exercise of applicants into the Imole Youth Corps and Amotekun Corps. The group made this known in a chat with newsmen at the January State of the State Address monthly press conference. One of the prominent members, Ayo Ologun, called on the Osun state government to ensure that the processes of recruitment into both organizations are free and fair to all, saying the government should not play any politics with people's collective resources.
We commend the Osun state government for its plans to reduce youth unemployment in the state through recruitment into Amotekun Corps and the commencement of the Imole Youth Corps. We have received reports from some quarters that successful candidates being contacted for the Imole Youth Corps are largely members of the People's Democratic Party. This is not acceptable and must be checked immediately.
He further admonished the state government to hasten teachers' recruitment to address depletion of teachers in most public schools, stressing that prompt recruitment will bring an end to the ailing educational system in the state. On the Ifon-Ilobu communal clash, TOM advised the Adeleke administration to immediately utilize the buffer zone for any valuable developmental project, adding that Amotekun corps are to be deployed to the area on permanent surveillance duty for at least the next 2 years. With reference to the office of Speaker of the Osun House of Assembly, they noted that Adewale Egbedun is irresponsible for labeling the Osun masterminds as a blackmail group seeking accountability from the State House of Assembly.
With absolute respect to the office that he occupies, himself as a person is irresponsible. Irresponsible as an occupant of that seat. And of course, we can go down the records of how he has lost decorum even in public engagements. So when a replay, because I didn't listen, but I got a replay of that interview, the first thing that came to my mind is this is another attempt by Wale to be further irresponsible. With due respect, I don't think whether in age or by academic qualification or by achievement in life other than the bank account, I don't think he can measure up with any member of the leadership of this group. I remember when we started this group, people came from different quarters and said, oh, they are being sponsored by Oyetola and they are collecting money from one source or the other. I remember I said this categorically about 2 years ago when that issue came up. I said, time will tell. And of course, the APC and Oyetola have been out of government for how long now? For 2 years and more. I wonder if any politician, including himself, will continue to fund, in quotes now, a non-beneficial.
The group equally frowned at the approved tariff hike on telecommunication companies by the Nigeria Communication Commission, NCC. Ologun, who maintains that the hike is coming at a time when the masses are grappling with hardship, emphasized that the government should be seeking ways to alleviate the suffering of the average Nigerian. Four soldiers attached to the Mayong barracks in the Morocco area of Shomolu in Lagos are feared dead and others injured after a suspected drunk driver rammed into them. It was gathered that the driver rammed into the soldiers during their monthly road jogging outside the barracks in the early hours of today. One of the soldiers narrated that the vehicle had 3 young men suspected to be internet fraudsters, also called Yahoo Boys. He added that the vehicle rammed into the soldiers near the Mayong Barracks Army Sports Camp, resulting in one of the occupants of the car fleeing immediately, while the remaining 2 were apprehended and beaten to a stupor with their vehicle vandalized. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, said the registration for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, will now commence on Monday, February 3, 2025, instead of Friday, January 31, 2025, as earlier stated. The board's public communication advisor, Fabian Benjamin, in a statement said the change was necessary to allow the board implement essential adjustments to its registration templates. It said the additional time would be used to ensure that all necessary changes were made for a smooth registration process. Anakiti State High Court has sentenced 4 persons to death by hanging for conspiracy and armed robbery. Justice Lekan Olatawura convicted Oyedele Oluwatobi, 27 years old, Damilola Christopher, 30 years old, Tokpe Ojo, 37 years old, and Temitokpe Aderopo, 37 years old, for their involvement in an armed robbery on August 3, 2021 in Ikere Ekiti. The 4 men were arraigned in April 2024 on 5 charges related to conspiracy and armed robbery. The court heard that the convicts, while armed with guns, conspired to rob their victims, namely Idowu Damilola, Ganiyu Abimbola, Idowu Tolulokpe, and Taye Adegboye. The items stolen included phones, power banks, laptops, a charger, a sound system, jewelry, and a sum of 136,000 naira. A petrol tanker went up in flames while offloading fuel at a filling station in Kiyawa local government area of Jigawa State. Eyewitnesses said the fire erupted after someone answered a phone call near the tanker, igniting the highly flammable vapors. The flames quickly engulfed the tanker and part of the filling station. However, timely intervention from firefighters and local residents helped prevent the blaze from spreading further. Authorities confirmed that no lives were lost, but the extent of property damage is yet to be determined. Investigations are on the way to ascertain the exact cause of the fire and prevent future occurrences. Away from Nigeria, Uganda has confirmed an outbreak of the Ebola virus in the capital, Kampala, with the first confirmed patient dying from it on Wednesday. It is the East African country's 9th outbreak since it recorded its first infection of the viral disease in 2000. According to sources, the patient, a male nurse at the Mulago National Referral Hospital in Kampala, had initially sought treatment at various facilities, including Mulago, as well as with a traditional healer after developing fever-like symptoms. The Health Ministry disclosed that 44 contacts of the deceased man have been listed for tracing, including 30 health workers. However, contact tracing could be challenging as Kampala, where the latest Ebola infection cropped up, is a crowded city of over 4 million people and a crossroads for traffic to South Sudan, Congo, Rwanda, and other countries. In Asia, Myanmar's ruling military has extended a state of emergency for another 6 months, a day ahead of the 4-year anniversary of a coup that plunged the country into chaos after a decade of tentative democracy. Myanmar has been locked in a civil war triggered by the military's overthrow of the elected civilian government of Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi. The junta plans this year to hold an election, which critics have derided as a sham to keep the generals in power through proxies. No date has been set for the election, but the junta is forging ahead with plans despite struggling to run the country as it tries to fend off on multiple fronts an armed rebellion with its roots in a youth-led uprising that was put down by the military with deadly force. Passengers evacuated from an Air-Busan, the plane that was engulfed in flames this week at a South Korean airport, will have their bags checked returned to them after authorities deemed the jet safe for a full investigation. The airline authorities said all 169 passengers and 7 crew members were evacuated from the Airbus using emergency slides after the fire broke out on Tuesday with only a few minor injuries. It was gathered that authorities today conducted a risk assessment of the plane, which still had a large amount of fuel and oxygen on board. The incident came a month after the deadliest air disaster on South Korean soil when a Jeju airplane crashed on Muon's airport's runway as it made an emergency belly landing, killing all but 2 of the 181 people on board. In Europe, Russia has condemned an executive order by U.S. President Donald Trump to build a new missile defense shield, accusing the United States of trying to upset the global nuclear balance and pave the way for military confrontation in space. Recall, Trump signed an order that mandated the process to develop an American Iron Dome, a next-generation U.S. missile defense shield against ballistic, hypersonic cruise missile and other forms of aerial attack. The White House said the intention was to modernize an outdated system and address the catastrophic threats that had become more complex as U.S. adversaries developed new delivery systems. But Russia Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said the plan was aimed at undermining the ability of both Russia and China to exercise nuclear deterrence. In the sharpest Russian criticism so far of a policy announced by Trump's new administration, she said that the planned U.S. move would hinder the prospects for talks on nuclear arms control, something that both Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have said they favor. The Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said the shooting of an anti-Islam campaigner just hours before a trial verdict was due over his burning the Quran may be linked to a foreign power, and police arrested 5 people over the killing. Salwan Momika, 38 years old, an Iraqi refugee, was shot in a house in Södertälje town near Stockholm on Wednesday. Momika had burned and desecrated copies of the Quran, the Muslim holy book, either in public or in social media broadcasts in 2023. Kristersson, at a news conference, assured that the security services are deeply involved because there is obviously a risk that there is a connection to a foreign power. Vice Prime Minister Ebba Busch condemned the murder. In the Americas, the identities of 2 of the 3 people on board the Black Hawk involved in the collision have been named. The identity of the 3rd person is not yet known. Pilot Andrew Eves from Mississippi has been named by his wife Carrie as one of the victims on the helicopter. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves says the state is mourning the loss of Brooksville Native Chief Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Eves, who provides leadership and training in their specialty. Sources said Ryan O'Hara, 29 years old, was the crew chief of the Black Hawk helicopter. His Reserve Officers Training Corps group said in a social media post confirming his death that he left behind a wife and a 1-year-old son. Companies, consumers, and farmers across the North America braced for U.S. President Donald Trump to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports within hours, moves that could disrupt nearly $1.6 trillion in annual trade. Trump has set a Saturday deadline to impose the punitive duties over his demands that Canada and Mexico take stronger action to halt the flow of illegal immigrants and the deadly opioid fentanyl and precursor chemicals into the United States. Trump had said it still is considering an additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports to punish Beijing for its part. Industry groups were furiously seeking any scrap of information on how Trump plans to implement the tariffs, whether he would impose the full 25% with immediate effect or announce them and delay their implementation to allow some time for negotiations over steps that the countries could take. In the Middle East, 2 people were killed in an Israeli strike in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley area after the Israeli military said it had struck several Hezbollah targets overnight in the Bekaa Valley and along the Syrian-Lebanese border. The Israeli army said in a statement that the targets included a facility used for underground weapons development and another linked to arms smuggling into Lebanon from neighboring Syria. The Israeli military statement did not mention casualties, but Lebanon's health ministry said 10 people were also wounded. Hezbollah official Ibrahim Moussawi condemned the air raids, calling them a very dangerous violation and a blatant and explicit aggression, and called on the Lebanese state to halt Israel's attacks. The strikes were the latest by Israel in Lebanon, despite a ceasefire agreement reached in late November between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah that ended more than a year of fighting between the two heavily armed forces. Now talking sports, Spanish Liga F side Valencia has announced the signing of Nigerian forward Motunrayo Ezekiel. Ezekiel, who joined Valencia from Nigeria's Women's Premier League club, Nigeria Tels, put pen to paper on a one-year contract. The 21-year-old also once had stints with Rivers Angels and Lakeside Queens. The striker, who was part of the Nigeria women's team that won silver in the football event of the 2023 All-African Games in Accra, Ghana, joined the list of Nigerian players plying their trade in the Spanish Women's League. Valencia occupies bottom spot on the league table with 6 points. In tennis, Jacob Friendly beat former world number 4 Kei Nishikori 6-3, 6-3 on his Davis Cup debut to level Great Britain's first round tie with Japan. The 23-year-old, who beat Nick Kyrgios in the Australian Open earlier this month, has risen to 7-7 in the world rankings from 646 over the past 12 months. The British number 3 continued his rise against Nishikori to level the qualifier at 1-1, following Yoshihito Nishioka's 7-5, 6-1 victory against Billy Harris in Miki. The tie will be decided on Saturday when Friendly takes on Nishioka and Nishikori faces Harris in the reverse of Friday's singles matches. Before we go, here again are the highlights. An Osun-based civil society, the Osun Masterminds, has urged the state government under the watch of Ademola Adeleke to be transparent and shun any form of political influence in the recruitment exercise of applicants into the Imole Youth Corps and Amotekun Corps. Elsewhere, Uganda has confirmed an outbreak of the Ebola virus in the capital Kampala, with the first confirmed patient dying from it on Wednesday. In the Americas, the identities of 2 of the 3 people on board the Black Hawk involved in the collision have been named. The identity of the 3rd person is not yet known. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, X and YouTube at Radio Afinju. The news was edited by Stella Adiroti. My name is Pearl Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.